Very proud to have been able to come here today. This made my trip for me. This place is beautiful. In proud remembrance of the achievements of her sons and in humble tribute to the sacrifices, this memorial has been erected by the United States of America. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Millennial Legends YouTube channel. My name's Dagan. I'm a 36-year-old American millennial who decided to leave everything behind and move here to the Philippines. And you know what? It's been the best decision I've ever made. Today's episode is a little bit different. Today's episode is a heavy, deep, emotional, and historical one that I'm actually really excited to talk to you about. Recently on our trip to Manila, we decided to take a visit to the American World War II Cemetary and Memorial for both Americans who lost their lives and the Filipino scouts and soldiers who lost their lives during the battles of World War II here in the Philippines. A quick intro so that you understand my background. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran. I served 6 years in the U.S. Navy on board the Abraham Lincoln, an aircraft carrier. On its first deployment, the Abraham Lincoln conducted operations in Operation Fiery Vigil, which was to save thousands, tens of thousands of Filipinos from a massive volcano that erupted in the 80s. But where we're at right now is on the island of Bohol. We're near the town of Guindalman in the barangay of Ginecot. This is a really historical area for a lot of reasons. Number one, the water you see behind me, the Bohol Sea, is the area of water in which the Japanese fleet transited before the Battle of Leyte Gulf. Now, for a quick history lesson so that you guys understand my background and where I'm coming from, during my time in the military, I obtained a degree in world history studying in wartime studies. And some of the stuff that I learned about this area in particular will blow people's minds. We're not going to get into a lot of it, but I just want to get enough so that you guys have a clear understanding and a personal, emotional connection with this episode and what we're talking about today. In this river mouth here and the two river mouths just south of here and behind these very mangrove trees to my left here, the American PT boat squadrons, or the fast attack PT boat squadrons, launched their surprise sneak attacks on the Japanese fleet as they were transiting right behind me, as you can see right here. And they literally drove them into this tight area around Bohol between Leyte, Samar, and the open ocean. They had no options, they had no choice, they had no deep draft water in which they could conduct this operation or the movement of their entire fleet. And when they got around the corner here, after the PT boat attack that came from this very area right here, the entire U.S. battleship fleet that was remaining was waiting for them in ambush in the Leyte Gulf. Truly an amazing piece of history and truly an amazing piece of historical dedication and sacrifice by those men who were willing to give the ultimate sacrifice of their own lives and bodies and soul to the betterment of the humanity and the betterment of the people of the Philippines and the people of the United States and the people of the world. So in today's episode, my friends Noel and his beautiful queen Christine, who live in the northern provinces just outside, about an hour outside of Manila, decided to come with us and film and vlog a day in the BGC area of what is known as BGC Uptown area just north of Manila. All right, so emotional, controversial moment. We're pulling up here to the cemetery. We're actually in the cemetery now. There actually is no professional photography, commercial photography, or vlogging allowed in here, which I completely respect and understand. So we will do what we can and show you what we can. But yeah, I have my own reasons for being here. So never forget where you came from and never forget why you're here or how it is that you are in the land of the free that you're in. So humbling moments for us. Out of respect and accordance with the rules and laws of that area, you're not supposed to commercially vlog, video, or film while you're in there. So the only times that we were able to film were during brief moments while we were with a park ranger or while we were with officials and while we were on official tours or talking with the official guides. So please understand that there isn't a lot of footage there, and that again is why I'm doing this voiceover testimonial so that you guys can get an emotional understanding and a grasp on how heavy this experience was for me. When it mattered, we came together. People have no idea. It's just so much easier to forget. We were at a point after Pearl Harbor where 14-year-olds were lying to go to war just to defend our honor.
we have all lost our way.
In today's world, there is a lot of hypocrisy going on, and there's a lot of instability and restlessness amongst most cultures and most people. Specifically speaking, right now I'm in the Philippines and I'm a US Navy veteran, so we're gonna just touch on that subject for a brief second. Right now in the South China Sea and the South Sulu Sea and out in the open ocean here surrounding the Philippines, there is a lot of conflict and a lot of things going on. And if you were to actually take a deep dive on Google Earth right now and see the massive military bases that the Chinese are building on what should be Philippine islands here in the South China Sea and in the Philippine Sea, it would really humble you. Now, I've done a couple of podcasts, which I'll put in the links below, where you can actually watch us Google and zoom in on some of these locations. And it is truly mind-boggling to see what China is really putting out and what they're doing against the people of the Philippines. Now, to speak about the hypocrisies of what's going on in today's world, right now, currently going on as we speak in Manila, there are protests against the US military being part of the Philippines and the US military and the Philippine military collaborating together. And for me, as a military veteran, as a historian, and as someone who loves the Philippines and now lives in the Philippines, I don't understand why. I'm sure that some people could say, we just want to be at peace, we don't want to be a part of war. But you have to understand what a deterrent is. If you didn't have the deterrent of the US military and the Philippine military here to protect you and to protect the claims of the Philippine people and your land and your culture, you would already be Chinese. If it wasn't for the heroic sacrifices of the Filipino and American men here in World War II, you wouldn't even be Filipino, you would be Japanese. We would be sitting in Japan right now. These would be the island nations of Japan. And that itself is a very humbling realization. And I really hope that people stop, try not to argue about things they don't understand, and just take a deep breath and go look up some history. Please, because there is a lot of hypocrisy right now. To be against the military collaborations that the US and British and Canadian allies and Australian allies are doing here with the Philippine military, it's a beautiful thing to see, because you don't have a large enough military as a Philippine country here to actually protect yourselves. And I know that everyone just wants to shake hands, give hugs, and be at peace, but the world doesn't work that way. And power demands respect, and respect demands a much more strong gesture of don't mess with us, don't tread on me. And so I think it's a really good thing that the military is here once again collaborating, training, and working as a coalition force with the Philippine military. I've been to Arlington, which is the Arlington Memorial Cemetery, which is the national cemetery in Washington, D.C., which honors most of the most famous war heroes and veterans of the Americas. And I will tell you that the American World War II Memorial and Cemetery in BGC was so much more emotionally connected and deep and real for me, because this was a real battleground. This right here behind me, men died right here on these cliffs. There were battles down the street there. There was a battle right over there on the edge of the cliffs behind me. And there was a massive battle, two massive battles right here in the open water behind me. My friend Noel and his lady Christine, who is a fellow podcaster and streamer and YouTuber, which I will put his link in the description below as well, had never been there before. And I think it was a really amazing perspective to have a Filipino local with his woman who don't really have a lot of history lessons on those things and only know what they've been told or only know what they were taught in school, which wasn't much. To see them read about it, learn about it, walk through this place, read all the history, see all the war maps and all the memorials and all the breakdown war maps on the walls that really show you what happened, and then to walk the halls of those who would never returned home, of the hundreds of thousands of men and women who are buried in the oceans here in sunken ships or disappeared in the jungles during bombing raids or blasts or Japanese ambushes. It was really, truly a humbling and beautiful experience. For someone like me, who's an American veteran, who's a World War II history buff, who's actually studied these things, I was brought to my knees on multiple occasions. It was such a deep, intimate experience for me. I was brought to tears, I think 3 or 4 times throughout the whole thing. And I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I cannot wait to go back and give more honor and pay homage to those who made the ultimate sacrifice. There are only a few names on those walls that have actually, where bodies have actually been recovered. 99% of those names on those walls and at that memorial and at that cemetery never came home, and their bodies were never recovered. After about 2 hours of touring this cemetery, it was time to go and it was time to close. But not before they held a tap ceremony. Now, taps is something that they do both at funerals and ceremonies and also on military bases or military compounds of any type. It's where we say goodbye to the day, we close out, we change the watch, we bring down the flags for the day. It is a very, very special ceremony to veterans like myself, and I was so humbled and so honored to be able to attend the tap ceremony, especially being literally the only one left in the park. I just couldn't believe how beautiful it was. And I will give huge props to the park rangers there at the cemetery. They did an amazing job. I'll roll that footage right now and I'll let you just watch it. And I want you guys to honestly, from the bottom of my heart, embrace this moment. Please watch this moment all the way through and do not skip any bit of it. Take a moment of silence and realize and remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for the freedom and privileges that you have now. And as this flag comes down and as this bugle stops playing, please give thanks and say a prayer to the souls buried in the ocean beneath me here, right behind me and all around the Philippines, because without them, you wouldn't be here. And without them, those people that are protesting in Manila right now against the US military, they wouldn't even have the ability or the privilege to protest if it wasn't for the men and women, our brothers and sisters, both Filipino and American, that made the ultimate sacrifice. Ladies and gentlemen, we just had a very emotional hour walk through this absolutely gorgeous, humbling, beautiful, magnanimous cemetery and memorial for both Filipino and Americans, all who died in the name of freedom during World War II. This was, wow, this was heavy. I'm gonna proudly go out there and admit that I have already cried 3 times. Every tear was well deserved here. What they've done here and what they've built here, like, in my opinion, every single student, every single child in the world needs to be thrown on a bus and marched into a place like this and reminded of why they have the luxuries they have today. To those engineers and craftsmen that built this place, both American and Filipino, bravo. And as we walk down these marble steps, I am just blown away by the beauty and the surrealness of this place. And then just to contrast it, the gentrification and industrialization of Uptown. It's a lot. I just got to witness taps, and they did a beautiful job at the taps. I broke. So most people, unless you're in the military, probably won't understand that or understand why I broke, but to those veterans around the world, both, you know, of all countries and nations, that was a very well done tap ceremony, especially to be done by civilians. I'm very impressed. They really did. I love you.
I love you too.
I just got to get out of here before I start crying again.
Aw, let it go. You'll feel better. Let those tears roll.
But the tears I have today aren't the tears for me, it's the tears for them.
You'll still feel better.
Tears of thanks and appreciation. It really is a beautiful place. If you get a chance to come to Manila, no matter where you're from and no matter who you are, you need to come here. Until next time, legends. See you soon.